Today's guest is Kyle Nitchen. He's the founder and writer at the Influential Project Manager, also a senior project manager at Layton Construction. Kyle, thank you for coming on the show.
You're welcome, Tats. I'm happy to be here.
Great. I see on social you're posting a lot of great stuff. We share some mutual connections. I'm looking forward to learning more about what you do and how you serve your audience.
Yeah, likewise, and happy to be here.
Great. I'm always curious, you have this newsletter, you do a lot of social stuff. I mean, how did it all begin for you?
It all began a couple years ago, just with the thought and the idea of kind of expanding and sharing of what I'm learning as I'm going through the building process, leading projects, trying to make them successful, trying to be able to predict my outcomes. I started going down many rabbit holes of leadership and lean and project management best practices and how to do this. And um, as I was going through that and going through my career, I noticed a bunch of number one pain points that everyone was feeling, industry wide problems that everyone was feeling. And a lot of this knowledge was having overlap on solving some of those. And I wanted to help contribute to the industry and help solving some of those tough challenges and sharing some really good ideas that have helped me along the way. So that was the real birth of the newsletter and where that came from. Um, and since then, it's kind of struck a chord in the industry. People kind of started gravitating, asking more questions, wanting more, and I just kept going from there. So
Yeah,
that's
for
how I got
sure.
in.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things you said is, the challenges. What are the challenges have you tried to really sort of get your head around and find solutions?
Oh, just the overall building challenge is really organizing several hundred people around one common goal. Um, Trying to do that productively without a ton of wasted time and energy. Um,
Yeah.
um, so there's inside of that there's a million. There's time management problems. There's field coordination problems. There's communication breakdowns. Um, so everything under the sun that it revolves around that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just speaking broadly, with construction, each one of these projects is unique, right? Different skill sets are uh, involved. It's not that you get to do the same thing over and over. I mean, when you start from the beginning, what are the things that are going through your head that set you to, you mentioned, predictable outcomes?
Yeah. When things are going through my head, the first thing I'm thinking of is, I guess, the team. You want to get the team right because one of the things I've learned is no matter if you have the best plan, the best ideas, the best processes, the best tools, the best material, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you don't have the team right, they're not going to get the ideas right. Okay. Um, so the first is building the team. The first is most important thing is focusing on the who, and not then you can worry about the what and the how. Um, but traditionally we're used to and we're wired to think of first the how, and then the what, and then the who and the why. Where the best approach is usually to flip that, start with your why, then get to the who, and then the what and the how usually will take care of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in terms of the who, where do you usually start?
Start with the team, the leadership team at the leader level, the project level. That's your project manager, your superintendent. Make sure their heads are in the right spaces, and then that's selecting your best partners, your best suppliers, making sure that they're on board. They understand clearly what the expectation is, the purpose of the project, and then usually when you get everyone wrapped and rallied around that purpose, um, that's gonna yield a much better outcome.
Yeah. So once you have the team, what's the next step?
The next step I would say is understanding your project very clearly. So instead of flipping through your plans and your specs a few times. Um, Not only doing that, but understand your contract um, the most in detail. What exactly is the contract? Is your roadmap? It's your playbook. It governs the behavior on the project. So, really getting into the details. And what I like to do and encourage others to do is read it, understand it, and distill it down into a dozen bullet points that you can communicate and explain to a 3-year old if you can. And that is not only a good exercise for you, but you're going to want to communicate that to others, to everyone down the chain from your project level team, the support staff, the field team, the crews, the foreman, your suppliers, uh, manufacturers, everyone down the supply chain. Um, if you can communicate that to everybody, explain it at a level that everyone can understand, you're going to see behaviors start to change, and they're going to be good positive behaviors that are going to help your outcome.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's applicable in many situations when you take something that's complex that not everyone needs to understand it in full detail and to distill it down to a dozen or a few points that sort of drive the behavior that's going to put everything in the right track. I mean, what are some examples of things that have been on your list of a dozen things that you just say it over and over until people can recite it back to you? What were some of those things?
um, some of those things are just like the stuff around safety, cleanliness, just the owner's top 10 um, core values. You know, like some of the just something that comes to mind in my line of work is it's not only understanding the plans and the specs, but also the core values and the priorities of the owner. For my case, I build a lot of hospitals, and I renovate and I expand a lot of hospitals. So I'm in the healthcare business. I'm always in hospitals, and I always have to train and communicate my to my people and to my stakeholders that we have to be aware of that the hospital is running a healthcare business, and that people inside the hospital they don't exactly want to be there. So it's a different environment than building like a Macy's or you know a, a warehouse or a different type of facility, a mixed use building that's in a downtown environment. This is a whole different environment that comes with a whole lot of different values and regulations for that matter. So I have to train people and get people in that mind that in order to understand that project, we have to understand some different values. We got to watch how we behave inside their facility. We can't be leaving any dust or debris behind anywhere, or that we could be putting someone's life at risk. Um, so the stakes are much higher. So that's an example of us understanding that project, and in each other project in all these other environments goes the same thing.
Mm. Now, reinforcing these things verbally, do you drive home the point just over and over? Do you find different creative ways to reinforce this? Like, how do you get the message through the organization?
Yeah, I basically bake it into everything that we do. Yes, it's very well repeated. Try and come at it from every different angle by repeating it in a morning huddle, or taking a quick moment and telling a quick story about something that happened in a subcontractor meeting, or hey, sending out a broadcast about again reinforcing these values. Um, every angle, attaching some of this stuff to our schedules, these sort of things and reminders. It's our job as leaders to make sure that the team and the group understands that. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. You cover topic of actionable leadership. I'm very always curious about that because some of these leadership books or tips are so broad that your eyes glaze over because you heard it a million times. But talk to me about actionable leadership.
Yeah, actionable leadership, are basically just what I like to talk about is ideas, frameworks, and tools to help you lead. One, that comes to mind is a quick example is leading with the answer.
Mm,
Um, being clear and concise. In the military, they call it bluff, bottom line up front. Um, and basically, as leaders, we got to have clear, concise communication. That's what wins the day. Your team doesn't need to know every single detail of every little bit of every little thing. They just need the bottom line, the answer, the key takeaway, the next steps, and that's it. Um, I find that in life and maybe in a family setting, we like to start with a nice slow story and build suspense and tell start with a get them to a climax and then hit them right there with the punchline, right? But in business it's very much the opposite, right? We're busy, we're you run your own company, you got a million things going on, you have a podcast, you need when you're in communication you probably need some a little bit more concise. We want the answer quick, and then if I need more information I'll ask for more details, right? um, so that's an actionable thing that will literally level up your leadership right away, um, and demonstrate great leadership capability.
yeah, what are some that's a great one, actually. What are some other things that, come to mind?
Um, you know, other things that come to mind is just really running remarkable meetings, having really well structured systems, being a systems thinker, a systems builder. Um, I say often that your projects they don't rise to the level of your goals, they fall to the level of your systems. So um, it's up to the leaders to develop those, make those clear for the team, um, so that they're not distracted by wasted time or in back-to-back meetings all the time. Then that's just not effective, and that's not an environment that can produce high performing results.
Yeah, you talked about remarkable meetings. What are some things you can do to sort of upgrade the meetings?
Number one, and this kind of like maybe seems obvious, but you'd be surprised at how often people don't do this. Is have a good agenda, be prepared, um, have be able to answer the question, why am I having this meeting? If you can't answer that question, then don't schedule a meeting. you know, um, have a good agenda. Be prepared. Give your group a list of a brief before the meeting so that they can come prepared, and that you can have an outcome that you're trying to achieve and work reverse engineer it and work backwards from that. Just that approach alone is going to give you like 90% more results. Um, again, seems obvious, but it's not always executed like that. So that's one thing, is have a good why, have a good purpose of your meeting, have an agenda, be well prepared, and then make it have dialogue. In our industry, a lot, especially general contractors, when we bring trades together, suppliers in a meeting, it's very much reporting, like we're some news broadcast. But no, let's invite everyone to the table and let's open up the table for a really good discussion. Let's have some healthy debates here. Let's have some conflict. Let's have some drama in this meeting. It's not something to be afraid of. That's what yields and squeezes the juice out of a good meeting, right? Leveraging everyone's genius.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. Well, you've built out a newsletter, with thousands, with your sort of project manager stuff in construction. What did you learn in the process of growing that out?
Oh, learned a lot of little micro and macro lessons. Yeah, it's been doing that for a couple years now, and I guess just through that process and growing something of any kind like that, an audience, uh, whatever you brand or something, if whatever you may call it. um, consistency consistency is a big pillar there. Your first newsletter or podcast or article, whatever you're creating or doing, whatever skill you're trying to build is not going to be the best. It's not going to be good. Don't expect it. Don't wait for perfection though. At the same time, publish, get something out there, get your ideas out there, and get feedback and improve. Quality comes from consistency. Quality is just a byproduct of a consistent um, operation or a consistent effort. Um, so that's one thing because I see a lot of a lot of people have reached out to me and asked me, "Hey, I want to start a newsletter. Hey, I want to start this and that. What do you think I should do?" Or, "Hey, look at my format. What do you think?" And my answer is like, "Hey, man, I fully support that. Just get it out there. Just start. Do it. Your format doesn't matter because it's going to change. I promise you, if you start with this format on newsletter or podcast 50, you're going to find a different format that more works for you. And some probably your audience will give you the leading indicators of what's working and what's not working. Right. So, um, that's a big thing because that's always I find people's like first question when it comes to stuff like that. So just start. Your first is going to look a lot different than your hundredth, but get to 100 as quickly as you can. Be
Yeah.
consistent.
And what was your trajectory? Like, did it slowly start off and at some point it just flipped the switch, or it's just been steady all the way along?
It's been pretty steady all the way along. But I have had a few instances of where I've caught in some virality or gone viral, as you could say. So I've had some like peaks of inflection points where it's grown substantially, but those inflection points are it's not no magic formula or anything. That's just again a byproduct of being consistent. You don't know when you're gonna go viral. You don't know what's gonna hit. Whatever you think's gonna land with your audience or land with your client or whatever it may be is not gonna be what you really expected it to be. It's just like keep going and check your intent. My intent has always been I want to improve the industry. I want to help people. I want to add value for people. And it's just the things that I've gone a little bit more viral than I thought would. I didn't expect it to.
Yeah. From what you're doing now, how do you see the future? What sort of things and how do you think it's going to progress for you?
Oh, I think just in if I were to guess, I don't know exactly where it will go. I have a good feelings that it'll be very positive, and I feel like I'm heading in the right direction. But I plan to just be a more distribution channel for the um, industry, spreading more good ideas around leadership, project management, um, lean construction. Um, Again, solving problems for people in the industry. I just want to be a bigger voice for that and hopefully create other arms of ways I could help the industry, whether a consulting arm, a contracting arm, a software arm. Again, these other things that can again spread more, use these ideas and principles to help the industry wherever that may be. I don't know exactly yet, but growth in that direction.
Great. I mean, when you look at the industry, I mean, what sort of, you may not have inside knowledge, but sort of companies appear like they're doing the right things or have the processes to take a closer look?
Um, oh, there's a lot of things I think that could stand out. For me, I like some of the technology companies. There's a lot that are doing some great things. Especially, I have a lot of big focus in the scheduling and planning part of construction. I think there's a lot of work that can be done there. Just the way that we schedule and we plan and organize our workers, um, can save I think trillions of dollars, to be honest, when you scale it to the whole industry of waste and lost productivity. So there's a couple shout outs on that, like Jason Schroeder's doing major work in the industry. Um, on tack planning and scheduling. Softwares like Intact, Outbuild, they're making the last planner system like readily available and easy to implement. V Planner, Touch Plan, these tools are doing wonderful job. Also, softwares just making digital more effective. Procore, Ingenious Build. Um, these companies are just making major headwinds on solving these types of issues. Um, uh, and I'm not too sure on the supplier side, but I've seen a lot of cool stuff with just manufacturing better. I know we're getting into robotics, and hopefully that's probably a few years down the road. But these things are exciting for me. I have my eye on them, and I hope to see us just become a more productive and mentally healthier industry, and more attractive to the next generation too. Those are my hopes, because I think what we do is really fun at the end of
Yeah,
the
for
day.
sure. Great. Is there anything that I haven't asked you but you wanted to share?
No, I mean, if I don't think so. If your audience is interested in joining kind of these kind of conversations, I have a weekly newsletter, like you mentioned. I send one email out every Tuesday. There's no spam or BS like that. It's just good ideas streaming into your inbox on Tuesdays, and yeah, I just want to. I'd love to hear from your audience too, if there's any specific questions that I can help address.
Great. And where's the best place to connect with you?
LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a great place. That's where I post ideas daily along these topics, and then, like I said, the newsletter is also great too for deeper dives. That's where I do my kind of deeper thinking and share my ideas there.